Hello! So, before we get started, I've been told very explicitly to make it clear that any of the names that you see in the Legendary Army book here, whether that's names for the units, names for their special rules, names for the mounts, names for magic items, anything like that, it's all subject to change as Background haven't finished their little bit of work yet before the release is ready. So bear that in mind, but other than that, enjoy. I'll hit recording as well. Excellent. So, welcome to day 2. I'm joined by my special guest again. Say hello, Hugh.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that every time. Hello, everyone. Yeah.
Hooray! Excellent.
No more bad. No more awful pun.
I'm glad that hasn't lasted a week. Okay, so day 2. I think potentially the most exciting part of the book. What do you reckon?
Yeah, there's definitely some very interesting stuff in this section.
Yeah, I think this is where the real meat of, I suppose, Kingdom of Equitaine is the heroic army, right? So the heroes are going to be very interesting to look at. So yes, today we are looking at characters, magic items, and the knightly principles, which is the new virtues, basically. Yeah, let's go straight into it, shall we?
Yeah.
So, knightly principles. The following knightly principles are common rules that a knight must follow and use to govern his actions. Excellence for 40 points is an attack attribute, so I think this is, first of all, a very good change. The original virtues didn't specify what kind of special rule they were.
Yes.
So, audacity, for example, wasn't an attack attribute. So, for a model with Potion of Strength could take a Crush Attack. Crush Attack doesn't let you use attack attributes. Audacity isn't an attack attribute, so you get to hit with a reroll and then to wound with a reroll if you're hitting against something gigantic.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
yeah, very daft
and broken
and very broken. Yes, so this is a nice change.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so excellence is essentially the new valor. It's an attack attribute. All of them are one of a kind. Duels issued by the model must, if possible, be accepted by an enemy character unless a champion accepts first. In addition, while fighting a duel, the model's parts close combat attacks gain +2 armor penetration. So you're not forced to issue duels anymore. You don't get your rerolls, but the forced to accept it is still a thing, and +2 AP is really, really cool still as well.
Yeah, for 40 points, this is very, very solid. And has the potential to make some really, really killy duelists that will definitely challenge the other duelists of other races.
Yeah, and the +2 AP is interesting as well because it means that you can branch out with your weapon enchantments, so it makes other things slightly more interesting. You're not stuck with having to go with something that's going to bring AP along, which is cool. That's very nice. We've got a lot to get through, so we'll move on quickly. Next one is Forbearance for 30 points. It's a personal protection. The model gains Distracting with the caveat that it cannot be used in the first round of combat. What do you reckon on this one?
It's going to be really strong on... you could already make a very tanky KoE character, which you can still do, which we'll get to shortly. And now you can put Distracting on top of it as well. So yeah, if you want a really tanky guy now, then this is your go-to, I think. And it's very strong.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it has to be a very particular kind of character that you're wanting to build. It limits your damage output a lot, I think, because you want to survive the first round of combat and stick around for later on for where the Distracting kicks in. But yeah, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is a very cheap one. It's a universal special rule. It's Generosity. The model gains Commanding Presence that only friendly models with Ordeal may benefit from. In addition, Knight Banner A's become 0 to 3 per army.
Yeah.
So this is the new Humility, with no more rally around the flag, no more bonuses to the range or anything. But
yeah, that was a very strong mechanic. That was possibly a bit too insane, to be honest. But yeah, especially when it was on the hippos when they gave themselves BSB. That was mental.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You take a pair of them, and then you've got 18 inches of Inspiring Presence and rally around the flag.
Yeah, that was
themselves, and they were insignificant as well, so you could flee through units and not panic them.
Yeah, that was crazy. But this is much more sensible.
Yeah, and it's a follow up to Oath of Fealty as well. So very limited, as you can only take the one of them. But if you put it on the right model, then on a Hippogriff, for example, if it's not your general, then It's a nice bonus if you're taking a peasant-heavy army.
Yeah, it's good for keep making sure those chaffing yeoman riders are still in leadership range, sort of thing, and not necessarily tied to your general.
Yeah, so you can put them on a different flank with another character there. Next up is Justice, which is an entirely new one. Attack attribute, 55 points. Whenever another model in the model's unit suffers an unsaved wound due to an enemy attack, an enemy melee attack, so even stomps as well, the model part must perform a single close combat attack at initiative step 0. If this is not possible, the effect is ignored. The number of these bonus attacks that the model part performs can never be higher than 3. So if your unit suffers up to 3 wounds, or any number up to 3 wounds, then you get to make up to 3 bonus attacks, which is, yeah, I'm down with this, especially mixed with some of the magic items that you can take.
Yeah, there's definitely some nice combos with this. You get up to 3 extra attacks. That's great. You're going to get some very high quality attacks from KoE. You also can have, now we will get into in later videos, there are some lighter knights than the ones that we used to have. So you are more reliably, potentially in some situations, going to get these attacks. So that can bring you up to an insane number of attacks for your guys if this is spec'd for in your build.
Yeah. If you put these characters into a slightly softer unit, then you can guarantee those extra attacks, and that kind of counteracts the fact that you're losing guys to combat res anyway. Especially considering combat res is a little bit of a issue, a little bit missing in the new book. Yeah. Next up is Valor, which is confusingly the new Audacity, basically. With some several changes, I guess. The model gains Fearless. It's 55 points in an attack attribute. The model gains Fearless, and the model part's close combat attacks gain multiple wounds, 2 against Fear. So anything with Gigantic, and then certain other units as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't had a proper think about this yet. In some situations, it's better, and in some situations, I would say it's possibly worse than the old one.
I mean, if you're fighting against something that doesn't cause any fear at all, like I guess certain Empire builds, I don't think... Yeah, there are lots of armies that you can probably get to a full 4500 without taking any fear, and at that point you've paid 55 points for Fearless.
Yeah, exactly, large, when you've got a bonus versus large and gigantic, you were pretty much guaranteed that there would be a little bit of that in everything. Yeah. But this is... has some caveats. I think it's possibly one of the weaker principles, but it's still interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's more fun than just getting rerolls, and it's less time consuming probably as well, just picking up your dice and rerolling them all the time. So
sure.
Yeah, a little bit of extra speed, and it is a little bit more interesting as well. Next one is a little bit similar to Might. It's Honor for 65 points, an attack attribute. While located in the charged unit's front arc, the model gains Devastating Charge +2 advance, and while engaged with an enemy unit's front facing, the model part gains Devastating Charge +2 attacks.
Yep, very, very solid. Reminiscent a little of the Quest upgrade you could take for your Might characters back in the day. Quest Might combo, +2 attacks. It's probably a lot cheaper than that combo was.
So much cheaper.
Yeah, I think Might was 100 points, and then you had your Quest upgrade on top. So
yeah, which you'd be having to pay for a Bastard Sword as well in there.
Definitely a good one. Interestingly, like if you go super into this guy, I wonder if you will see various steadfast units just like turn around to avoid the bonuses.
Yeah, just disappearing.
It's sort of an anti-frenzy thing. But could be some interesting scenarios for the front limitation.
Yeah, you don't want to get charged in the front by this guy, especially certain units with certain magic items on this guy. So
yes,
I think an important part of this though is that the model gains Devastating Charge +2 advance, so it doesn't give it to the unit. So if he's charging out of a unit, he's fine, but if he's charging with them, he's capped by their movement.
Yes, yeah. Yes, for sure. He's potentially a missile that jumps out of the unit, but he does. There is one knight unit that combos with this
Very
as well
nicely.
that will means that he isn't restricting them by joining them. So there is and interestingly not quests.
Yeah.
Which is what you
No
would
more
think,
questing oath.
but no. Okay.
Yeah. And then the final knightly principle is 35 points. It's Faith, a universal special rule. In the melee phase, if the model's unit is the target of an Orison while engaged in combat, add one Orison token to the owner's Orison token pool. In addition, Ordo's ministers become 0 to 3 per army. So very wordy way of saying you get a free Orison token if you use it on this unit in the melee phase, basically.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think
Basically,
it's very
it's
strong.
really, really good.
But it's not as flashy as some of the other ones, but like basically a free Orison token for your combat. Is very strong.
Yeah, you've got to have one to spend it, but besides that, just +1 Aegis or +1 to hit, depending on what's better for you. In the big infantry blocks, this is really good. In certain knight blocks, it's also good.
Yeah, if you've got your one tanky unit or your one that you want to be in combat all the time, this is going to be a really good upgrade for a character in there.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So moving swiftly on to magical items.
We start with a doozy.
We do indeed. So for 50 points, you get the BAIN Breaker, which is a lance enchantment. Attacks made with this weapon gain devastating charge, +1 strength, +1 AP, multiple wounds D3, and become magical attacks. So, oh boy,
boy, howdy! This is an item, and this is a price point for an item.
It really is, isn't it? Consider it like it's 30 points cheaper than the Old Divine Judgment.
And it's I would argue about the same in terms of power with the
with the extra strength and AP, right? And a lot of the time the D3 +1 gets capped out, and you're doing a lot of damage anyway. But yeah, you can combine it with principles with extra attacks, either Justice for extra attacks or Honor for extra attacks as well.
These are very solid item. I think. You will see old school peg lords flying around with this, and there is some additional upgrades we will get to that make the guy even better. I mean, comboing this with Sainted, and we will eventually get to Paladins as an upgrade.
Yes,
which also combos very well. I think this is going to be very popular. Very popular.
Yeah, for sure. This is going to go up in points. It has to go up in points. I think 50 points is too cheap for it, considering the combos that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Warsong Sting for 40 points, which I think is pretty cheap anyway.
This is a nice little item.
Yeah. So, like enchantment for Lance, I'm not going to read the whole thing out, but basically, if you're fighting a unit in its front, if you're charging, then you get to do an additional hit, which has area attack 1/5, it's strength 6, AP 3, and magical attacks. It's basically your lance counts as a bolt thrower if you're charging.
But
you get to all of your attacks as well, and then
it's area attack 1/5, but there's no second value as well, so it's 5 strength 6 auto hit.
Yes, indeed.
Which is nuts for 40 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's so you can get to the old might, but you don't need to roll to hit for half of the hits.
Yeah, so you can have your normal lance attacks, and this auto hits, and you get 5 extra strength 6. Very nice, very nice.
Yes, yeah. To be fair, the change for this is that you do need to be hitting a unit that's 5 deep. If it's not 5 deep, then you lose those extra hits, which is fair, but it is a thing worth noting. So it's only going to be worth it against big ranked up.
It's charge dependent and rank units, but it helps getting the extra attacks in against a unit that where you need to do lots of kills to break the steadfast, essentially.
Yeah, basically. It's a useful item for those big units that you can't get through otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is, I think, my favourite one for the weapon enchantments. It's Mortal Reminder. It's an enchantment for halberds or great weapons. 55 points. The wielder gains fear. Attacks made with this weapon gain +1 strength, +1 AP, and become magical attacks. So nice and simple. Gains fear. And if you match that with Sainted, suddenly your Saint causes terror, even if he's sitting on just a horse or if he's running around on foot.
It's very similar to Touch of Greatness, but a 5-point upgrade gives you the fear, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, which is, nice and solid. And then last one. Oh, to be fair, I'd forgotten about Tristan's Resolve. Tristan's Resolve is a favourite of mine. I've tried to make it work, but not very well, unfortunately. But maybe the change to Excellence will be a difference. So it's exactly the same as it was in the old book, but no longer with the +1 strength. So it's now just +1 attack, +1 AP. After a successful to hit roll, the attacker may discard one of its hits and choose an enchanted weapon carried by the model the attack was allocated towards. Any weapon enchantment of the chosen weapon is ignored for the rest of the game. So I think it's really fun. I think it's... I'm not sure how good it is still, unfortunately. You have to be in a fight with something with a magic weapon. You need to be worried about the magic weapon.
Yeah.
You've got to hit them, and it discards one of your hits, and then you're still... You've only got the +1 AP, and you're not going to be particularly high strength either.
Yeah, it's situational, but I think when you look at this, I think this is a weapon that gels really well with Bastard Sword. I think this is one of the ones that they had in mind for Bastard Sword.
Yeah, that keeps it at the old +1 strength, +1 attack, +1 AP that way, doesn't it?
Essentially, so a slight upgrade, but then you're essentially getting +1 attack, +1 AP, and +1 strength. Now, I think when we get into the specifics of points here, like when you go and compare this to something like Hero's Heart, I think the destroying magic items upgrade that you get from this only comes in at like 15 or 20 points more expensive than Hero's Heart. It might even be less, which
Hero's Heart is 60 and this is only 50.
Yeah, and then with the Bastard Sword coming in, then then it's a very cheap upgrade for destroying magic items in certain situations, which is potentially worth it.
Yeah, it's useful for protecting the rest of your unit as well. I think a very funny use of this is on a Damsel. She gets to make 2 attacks from the second rank now, so she gets both of those attacks. And if she hits the character that she's attacking, I mean, she's not going to wound them, but that's not the important bit. You hit that Chosen Lord, and suddenly he doesn't have Blessed Inscriptions, he doesn't have the Burning Portent, he doesn't have... you could be hitting that Minotaur Lord, you could be hitting Dwarf King and break his weapon as well. An ID Overlord, vampires. It's
there's damsels are kind of almost unique. Some damsels with shamanism are potentially going to be quite strong in duels, potentially anyway. So
exactly.
It's a great idea from Weslow there. It's a 50-point upgrade. It's potentially pretty interesting.
Yeah. Next up is Prayer Etched Ring Mail. It's exactly the same as Crusader's Salvation, with the added thing of you can't have a better Aegis save than 5+. So obviously you can get to a 4+ in this book. That's capped out from this. You can't have a 1-up rerollable with a 4+. That's for dwarves.
You definitely could easily get to that in this book. So I think it's a good caveat because it would be. They got rid of that since 0.99, I think. There used to be things that could do that, but now, no. Stop that.
Yeah. It's also dominant as well, which is a minor thing. I don't know how many other things you can match with that, but...
I don't know necessarily any shield enchantments that you might want to do, but yeah.
No, but...
I suppose for characters, maybe, but
yeah. Next up, Resplendent Panoply. Cavalry models without towering presence only. So no hippogriffs, but everything else can take it. It's an enchantment for heavy armor and +2 armor.
I really like this item.
Yeah, it's the work around the fact that bastard swords aren't a thing anymore. So you can take a great weapon and still get to a 2-up or a 1-up armor save on your characters.
And you can also take paired weapons, which is something that you couldn't do in the old book.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I liked, which I wanted in the old book, but I couldn't take.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think matched with either Valor for the multiple wounds 2 or Honor for loads of extra attacks anyway.
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of combos that open up from this. Yeah. Hero's Heart with paired weapons and just a bunch of attacks. It's a great potential combo.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Artifacts, there's only 2 in the book. Sacred Chalice, which has been spoiled already, I think. 25 points for models with Orison X only. The bearer gains magical resistance 1. When the bearer's unit is the target of an enemy casting attempt, including attribute spells, the bearer's owner gains 1 Veil token. So,
yeah,
nice little item. Quite solid, I think.
It has to go on an Orison unit, so your Damsels or Sainted or Paladin characters.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice though. Black Knight's Tabard makes a return, exactly the same as it was, but minus the 3-up Aegis for the turn that it dies. It's also 15 points cheaper at the moment, which is nice. I've used this before and it's good fun. It doesn't work if you get run down from combat, but other than that, it's very entertaining.
The 3-up losing the 3-up thing
well.
is a little bit of a downgrade, but yeah, I think it's still solid.
Yeah, I mean, considering you can get to a 4+ Aegis, or potentially a 3+ Aegis, just all the time anyway. You could put that on that character.
we found a way.
Yeah, I think that makes a fantastic build. Actually, I'll mention that later.
We will.
Okay, so banner enchantments next. So this is the important bit, considering banner A's can take KOE specific banners. Oriflamme returns, identical as it was before, but with the added thing of it's only engaged in combat, so you can't give this to a unit, then spend Holy Wrath on them to give them terror. It only works in combat.
Yes, that's it's a good caveat.
Yeah. Aspirant's Elan, which is the sort of equivalent of the Banner of the Last Charge. Close combat attacks made with lances by the bearer's unit gain +2 strength, +2 AP, and in the first round of combat if the following conditions are met. The bearer's unit is only engaged in its front facing, the bearer's unit is not charging, and the bearer's unit failed to charge in its previous charge phase. So lots of things that you've got to fill out to be able to get there, and you don't get bonus for charging agility wise, so you're striking at base agility. But other than that, seems like a pretty cool unit.
Yeah, very nice. It helps you force combats in some regards. Some units will still get additional bonuses for charging that they won't get from this banner. But there are definitely 1 or 2 units as well that will make very good use of this banner. And it being fairly inexpensive, solid.
Yeah, I think it's cool. And of course, if you pull yourself out of position anyway and you got charged in the flank, then you lose the banner bonus.
Yes,
so,
that would only make sense.
Long flanks.
It's an easy thing to lose. Banner of Roland makes a return, which I think is also identical.
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't think that's changed at all. Cavalry Banner, which was mentioned earlier by Hugh. Cavalry models only. If the bearer's unit has at least 3 full ranks, then you get +1 to your combat score. So if you've got a nice long lance, then you can add a little bit of static combat res.
Much needed static combat res, yeah.
Yeah, and of course it's only 1 for the army though.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised at it, to be honest. I feel like this is a one that could have been a 0 to 3.
Yeah, potentially.
Especially, but I guess if that's the way they want to go with this book, with no static combat res and more. But I think I don't think it would break it, and I think it would be a nice little thing that you could have for several units.
I think the increased combat damage on the charge probably counteracts this anyway, so it's not necessarily needed.
Time will tell.
Yeah, so again, alpha and beta feedback's important, right? Mm-hmm. And then the final one, I think probably my favourite banner from Banner Enchantments, is the Ordo Blessed banner. So you can take 2 of these per army. It's only for models with Courage or Honesty, and you get the Hereditary spell as a bound spell with the power level 4 and 8.
Yes.
I think this is awesome.
Yeah.
Considering how good the Hereditary is anyway. The fact that you can take it twice more.
Mm-hmm. It's a very nice little banner. 3 dice this to get the 8. Your opponent has to put down 3 dice to stop it. in a 5 dice to spell phase basically means you can pretty much guarantee getting the Horizon spell off. So
Yeah.
Great little item. Horizon being incredibly strong. This is very solid.
Yeah, it's important for the army, so I think this is really good. It's really good on a core unit just to fill out those core points, considering you're going to want this anyway, and save the more spicy banners for your scarier units.
Yes.
Cool. So that's the end of magic items. So we can finally move on to characters.
Characters are a good section.
Characters are a very good section. So we've got the Damsel. I'm not going to read the stats out or the special rules or anything. You can go through. You can pause the video and have a look if you want to.
Well, but Beloved is certainly an upgrade anyway, that being said.
Yes. Yeah. So what was it? What did it used to be?
There was a lot of caveats behind. Now it's just stand behind if the unit has 1 full rank.
Yes. Yeah. So it's no longer a full rank of lance formation. So you can put her in infantry finally, and she'll be able to stand behind in that unit.
Yeah.
She used to be able to, if she joined Forlorn Knights, for example, she'd be stuck in the first rank with everybody else.
Yep.
Which isn't great. Or joining peasants as well, she'd also be stuck out on the front rank. So infantry damsels are a little bit more useful now.
Mm-hmm.
She can be chosen as the model that refuses a duel now, but I mean, that's not massive anyway, right? You shouldn't be using your damsel as a combat character or your source of discipline, maybe.
No.
So, yeah, not so bad. She's also a source of Orison tokens as well.
Yeah, Orison tokens, 1, which is interesting. Like for the same points cost, like that she essentially was last book, she's just got such upgrades. Orison 1 is great. The Beloved change is a huge plus. And then the Aegis, she's
plus Aegis all the time.
Yeah, 5 up Aegis and Honesty, which is what I was talking about earlier. Shamanism damsels with Honesty and giving a 4-up ward against any magical attacks and only being wounded on 5 up can quite easily take a challenge from several combat characters, I would say. And then just hope you've got enough static combat res to break them.
Yeah, and I think you let the knights do all the damage there, and she stays alive for as long as possible. Yeah, it's nice and thematic as well. Very Gandalf-esque, I suppose.
It's
when he's turning up to save the
combat wizards. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exciting. Important to notice as well that the damsel can take Sainted, so you can make her your general finally. You can set her discipline to 9. She gets an extra attack, offensive, and defensive skill. Her Aegis is set to 4+ all the time then.
Yes.
She gets +1 to hit, and she causes fear.
Yeah. Their Sainted has just so many potential combinations with so many characters. You want it's one of a kind, but you want to put one on every single character section is the issue.
Which I think is really good. There's lots of different ways to build the characters. And then the steeds. So the magic laws haven't changed at all. The steeds we'll get to later, but she's got access to everything minus the Hippogriff, and the Fey steed is restricted to wizard adepts and wizard masters. So finally you can have apprentices on unicorns and adepts on unicorns. The Pegasus as well isn't restricted, and might actually be a good thing considering you've got a 5+ Aegis with Honesty now. She's a little bit less susceptible to being shot off. But
yes, as well. Yeah. Pegasus also have hard target as well now as well. So spoilers.
Yeah. The one thing to mention though is that light troops, so that's Heraldic Beast Riders and Pegasus Knights, because they're light troops, they don't have full ranks at any point, so you still can't join a damsel to that unit and hide behind them in a second rank. So
no, not unfortunately not.
So I don't know whether that's I mean I assume that's intended, but
I think there's so many. The Beloved rule definitely makes up for that, but not necessarily sure that you want to be running around in one of those units.
Yeah, I mean they're not big enough to hide the damsel for very long anyway, so maybe that's all right. Okay, so next we've got the Equitaine Lord. He comes with courage. He's our courage character. His stats haven't changed from the Dukes at all.
No.
And then he's got a specific upgrade for him is Paladin. So there's a universal special rule. The Lord model part gains divine attacks. That's just flat. So it doesn't matter of which item you've taken. You've got divine attacks. So you could take Shield Breaker and your AP 6 divine, or you could go Cleansing Fire and your Flaming divine.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just... You don't have to go for Blessed Inscriptions if you want those divine attacks now, which is very nice.
Yep.
A caveat to that is that you gain not a leader, so you can't make this guy your general, unfortunately. He loses courage and he gains honesty, so he's got +1 Aegis against magical attacks, which is, good in some situations, worse in others. It's depending on what you're using the unit for. And he's also a source of Orison tokens.
Yep. And it's a 30-point upgrade.
It's only 30 points.
Yep. I think it's mad, to be honest.
Yeah. I think a character like this gets very expensive very quickly, so that's probably fine. The fact that it's only 30 points.
There is certainly
you're gonna have to spend.
Yeah, when I've been building lists around this, there is certainly a lack of points in the character section, which I think was something very reminiscent of the last book as well. There's so many things you want to spend your character points on.
Yeah, I've been running into the same problems as well. Alright, what's to mention next? So, Bastard Swords are 25 points a model for this.
For +1 strength and the ability to use a shield. Yeah.
Yeah. So, meh?
No, indeed.
But yeah, we'll see.
There's something we haven't touched on is how Sainted and Paladin you cannot take as a BSB.
Yes. Yeah, so you can't mix them with BSB.
Yeah. And also that you can make a Lord a BSB essentially from this.
Yeah, there's no Paladin level character Lord wise. There's no Highborn Lord hero level character, so it's just Equitaine Lords, which are just BSBs, which is nice because you get the boosted agility, offensive, defensive, and attacks, and the discipline.
Yeah, and the character points, etc. So you can essentially make a Killy BSB and a Killy Lord, which is a nice upgrade. Yeah,
definitely. Especially considering you can put your BSB on a Hippogriff.
Mm-hmm.
That
also very cool.
Rally around the flag.
18-inch rally around the flag, huge for a low leadership army.
Yeah, massive. Especially if you give that guy generosity as well, then he provides his discipline for ordeal units at that point as well. So very, very nice. So for the normal mounts, Desteria is the old barded warhorse, Hippogriff, Pegasus Charger, and then Sainted or Paladin characters can take Revered Unicorns or Fey Steeds as well.
Yep. We'll get into those mounts later on, I guess.
Yes, indeed. And obviously this is the character that can take Knightly Principles. It goes without saying, I should think.
Well, one of the characters that can take Knightly Principles.
One of the characters that can take Knightly Principles, yes. Next up, we've got the Folk Hero, which, I love this. This is
the most
Castellan and
characterful unit in the character section. I mean, you can just take there's so many potential combos here.
Yeah, this is basically a D&D character almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go through the traits of a hero. Model part must choose at least one and up to 2 different heroic traits. So you can go for a Bannerman that makes him the BSB and +1 attack. You can make him Quinn, which counts as 2 heroic traits, and he's a wizard adept that must choose witchcraft. Troubadour, which gains March to the Beat, which is
it's a musician rule. Yeah, it's a musician rule. Yeah.
And also a wizard apprentice that must choose divination as its path of magic. A cleric, which is really, really, really good. Gains honesty, Ordo's minister, and Orison 1, but loses ordeal. So really good for his Aegis save. He can regrow wounds, and he's a source of Orison tokens, which is just
very solid upgrade.
Awesome. And finally, the old Castellan, so +1 attack, +1 offensive, +1 defensive, and a free bastard sword, and he must take a Knightly Principle, which I think is a way of stopping this character from being just spammed.
Yeah.
Because you've got to take the traits. They're not 0 to 0, but a lot of them aren't worth repeating. You can't repeat Bannerman. Cleric's very expensive. Troubadour and Quinn aren't worth repeating because of the magic. Castellan can't be repeated because they've got to take the one-of-a-kind principles.
Yes.
But yeah, this is the unit that we reckon you can build some funny stuff. So if you go for a folk hero, give him Cleric and Castellan. With Castellan, you give him Forbearance that gives him Distracting. Ordos Minister means he can self-heal. You give him Sainted so that he can sit on a Fey Steed. That gives him a 4+ Aegis total.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give him Destiny's Call.
Yes.
And then +1 Aegis from the Fey Steed. You've suddenly got a Distracting 3-up Aegis.
4 wound.
4 wound, tough 4 character that can self-heal.
Which we think is hilarious. I mean, it's
I'm not sure it's very good.
It's 2 strengths. If you give him like a great weapon, it's 2 strength 6 attacks. He gets a couple of steed attacks at strength 4, and then he gets a free breath weapon from the Fey Steed, and potentially a breath weapon from the Dragon Staff, which he could purchase as well.
Yes, yeah.
But I think he's around.
I think it's worth giving the black.
He's around 350 to 400 points. I think was what I think so. With all the upgrades, he costs you your Sainted character, which is good in for your other heroes, and possibly a little bit vulnerable to his static combat res. But having a 3-up ward wound healing character is pretty hilarious, and a little seems very not 9th age at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe that sort of thing will be capped. And I mean, it's very expensive. It probably doesn't take an awful lot for that to be changed. He's got to choose one of the weapons in the list there, including a longbow that gives him 3 shots. Which is cool.
I mean,
it's only hitting like a 4+, so
seems like a great combo for a potential Wizard Adept.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I mean, it's not restricted, so Wizard Adept with a longbow, so he doesn't particularly want to be in combat anyway. Seems like for 10 points. I mean, it's
I mean, if you've got to take one, you might as well take that one.
Yeah.
And then mounts. So they also get access to all of the mounts minus the Hippogriff, but Heraldic Steeds can't be taken with models with heavy armor. And the other 3, besides the Destrier, have to be taken by Sainted. So you can't put peasant characters on them unless they're very, very special peasants.
Yeah, the special peasants can be fun, but maybe not necessarily the best use of your Sainted upgrade.
Yeah, an entertaining use, but not necessarily the best.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So that's the end of the characters section.
Character mounts.
Oh, yes, yeah, of course we've got character mounts. Yeah. Okay, so Destrier first. It's like the old Warhorse, 816 +2 to your armor, but it's strength 4 all the time, which is nice.
AP 0, but slight upgrade.
Yeah, I'll take the strength 4 all the time. Considering potentially you want more grindy units in this army, the strength 4 is nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Heraldic Steed, which has been spoiled. It's a little bit of a weird unit, this one. So it counts towards your... if you take a character on this, it counts towards your gallantry cap.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Vanguard, which Vanguard in characters is cool. Comes with hard target, doesn't impact hit, 1 strength 4 attack. It's +2 to your armor still as well. But it's only March 14, even on its fly. It does have advanced 10 though, so it's good at charging, but it's good not good at moving around quite so fast.
Yeah, I mean a fly 10.
It's also standard height as well.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, right? Like theoretically, I mean you've got Vanguard on this guy and hard target. You can the Peg Lord that we were talking about earlier with Banebreaker. You could go Vanguard and Vanguard turn 1. Now we have a 10-inch charging guy that is going to be charging on turn 2 potentially, slightly lighter, but very quick and very hitty.
Yeah, I mean you can't put Equitaine Lords on the Heraldic Steed, but you could do
is it not?
With
my mistake.
No.
Yeah, but you could put a Castellan on here. Castellan for +2 attacks, make him Sainted as well, so he's got 3 attacks. Give him Honor maybe. So
Yeah,
it's got
yeah.
plus
It's
2 on the charge. So
certainly you could make a plus 1 attack from Castellan, and then maybe paired weapons, and you've got a backfield character that can be running around with a breath weapon, dragon staff, and like clearing chaff, etc. Could be some use there.
Yeah, which is entertaining. And it's 0 to 2 per army as well, so you can't spam these guys either, so it's not crazy. And of course the gallantry cap fills up very, very quickly if you put characters in.
Yeah, if you want to go flying, which I think you do with a lot of stuff in this book.
Yeah.
Next up is the Pegasus, which I don't think has changed at all. It gains hard targets as standard.
That's a big
counts
change.
2 towards its... Yeah, that's nice. It fills up 2 of your gallantry cap, which is huge. You only get 7 of them, and 1 character will fill up over a third of that, or almost a third of that, sorry.
I think it's very sensible, though, considering you can make some very strong flying, can't be chaffed characters with a lot of power. You can't increase the gallantry that much, because it would be just a bit too strong with all those guys running around.
Yeah, for sure. The other change from the old book is that it's now on a 50mm base.
Yes, yeah.
Next up is the Hippogriff. So again, this is identical to the old book. It gains gallantry 2. It's on a 50 by 75mm base. It loses its devastating charge plus 1 attack, but it gains relentless, which is while engaged in combat, the model's discipline checks are subject to minimize roll, which is nice.
Essentially bakes in the humility that you used to pay for as an auto include.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really good base for a forbearance character. If you get distracting on here, then it doesn't matter so much that you're losing to combat res because you're testing on minimized. And if you can get a BSB close enough, or a reroll somehow, or even divination to give him an extra an extra point of minimized, then all of a sudden he's not going anywhere. Unless you kill him, he's not going anywhere.
Very grindy. Yeah, it's basically the same role that they used to have, essentially.
Yeah.
Next is the Revered Unicorn. So more or less the same as it used to be, I think. Keeps Forest Guide the same. Still MR2. It's now only move 9-18, but I mean, only is a bit of a strange term to use for move 9-18.
Yeah.
I guess really the biggest change is to who can ride this. You know, this is very different to the old book where it was only masters of the master damsels.
I think they may have might have been a questionable decision, to be honest. I think when we look at the steed costs on a damsel, I mean, it's 50 points for a normal steed, and then 25 points extra you get
MR2, you get magical attacks for the unit, you get Forest Strider, Res 4 for the character.
Yeah, it's a huge upgrade for damsels that and benefit for the unit. Yeah, I think one of those mounts is a little priced inappropriately, I would say, because I think it's just such a solid upgrade for the damsel at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's something that can be fixed with points. And again, you can only take 2 in an army. So yeah, nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
And then I think the final one is the Fey Steed. So this is brand entirely new. We've not seen anything like this before in the Kingdom of Equitaine book. This is very specifically only for sainted characters, I think. 8/16. It causes fear. It's got Ghost Step and Fey Spirit. It's 4 hit points, res 4, +1 to your armor, +1 to your Aegis, 2 strength 4 attacks, a defensive 4, AP 1, agility 4, and it's got a strength 4, AP 0, magical attack, breath attack.
But you are large cavalry at this point as well. Yeah.
Yes, and with Fey Spirit, it has to cowboy. There's no way of joining any unit like this. You can join. Yeah, you can join one, but it's a different model type and it's a different height, so you can be picked out on shooting. And it slows you down massively as well. And they're probably not a unit that you want in combat necessarily.
I think there's a couple of other units, and we'll get to them. But yeah, but yes, there's not too many choices. It's interesting. I mean, you can put this on your lord, or you can put this on a master. So I'm not sure you want a master damsel running around on their own with this, but there are potential.
Maybe shamanism.
Maybe, but
but it's very expensive at that
very
point. It's
vulnerable
probably
to
worth
shooting. Very vulnerable to
Yeah.
shooting. But there's some potential for lords. The 3-up ward combo from Destiny's Call seems completely doable with a lord on here as well. Get straight up to a 3-up ward save. You can get a decent armor save as no, you won't get a decent armor save. It'll be stuck at 4-up, but you can. There's potentially some combos there. It's not a bad mount. You get the extra wound. Could be interesting. Something to experiment with potentially. An interesting combo.
Yeah, it's a strange mount, and we've not seen anything like it before, so
who knows what will come out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so that now is the end of the character section. So we're going to pick a favourite, a least favourite thing, and we're also going to show off a little bit of an army list each. Going through the week, we'll show off by the end of it a full army list.
Yeah.
But for today, we'll be showing off the character sections. So, a favourite point from the characters then?
Oh, there is a lot to love from this character section.
There really is, isn't there?
There are so many things. I think we barely touched on it, but an adept witchcraft has been spoiled for ages, though. So I'm not going to pick that. Very good thing for the army. Certainly something that will be in most of my KOE lists. But favorite thing. I mean, I don't think I can argue with Bainbreaker. To be honest, I mean it's not in my list, but good grief,
it's very good, isn't it? Yeah,
it's not in this list, but it's a solid item for the points.
Yeah, for sure, really good. Considering I was working out a good way of using a similar item on a BSB previously for 30 more points, I think this is great.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'm probably going to have to just go for the folk heroes general. If I had to be specific, then the cleric. I think the cleric's really good.
Definitely a good upgrade.
Yeah, I think that as a character is really good. Just regrowing wounds where you want him to be as well, so you can move him around in the movement phase, heal a wound in the magic and not cost anything. It's just really nice.
Very solid.
I'm not sure I want to pick a least favourite, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
I think maybe the thing I'd pick is the +1 Aegis on the Phase Steed, just for the combo of Destiny's Call.
Yeah,
I think that's something that has to be changed very quickly.
3-up ward shouldn't be a thing in...
no, not when it's permanent.
Yeah, it's pretty much like nowhere else. I think the only thing that I can think of is ethereal troops, with the obvious caveat of the magical attacks, and then I think that high elf mage with the gleaming robe.
Oh yes, yeah.
Which is a very different situation.
Because you're stuck with no armor at that point as well, aren't you? And it has to go on a guy on foot, so it's 3 res 3 wounds then. But this is 4 res 4 on a thing that causes fear.
Yeah.
And can have armor as well.
Yeah. It's not a combo that should exist. I think it's one that got missed.
Yeah. So I think that'll be a fairly quick fix.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe it's just not very good.
Maybe it's not very good, but yeah, I think it's interesting. For me, my least favorite thing, it's very tough to say that. To say what you don't like in this one. There's nothing that bad. I guess I'm not a big fan of the Troubadour upgrade for the folk hero. I'm just not sure what that's driving at. Like, I
guess you can put the hereditary on him, right? He doesn't have to stick with
true. There's no caveat on that. So a cheap access to the hereditary is also solid. That might be something that they wanted to do that they haven't didn't think of, but yeah. So yeah, that could be fairly reasonable as well. The March to the Beat seems a bit odd. So yeah,
I think that's
even
just
then, it's
flavour,
like,
right?
as we say, like a thing we're thinking of in the character section, and Wes has immediately pointed out that actually maybe it's not that bad. So it speaks volumes to the strength of the character section. We chose something that was broken and something that actually wasn't that bad anyway.
Yeah, I don't think there's an awful lot else in here that's... I guess the distracting on subsequent rounds of combat is strange, but they're, I think
I think it's still
broken,
very
so.
strong. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's still really good. So yeah, right. So showing off lists. Do you want to go through yours first?
Sure. So what I put together roughly for my guy is two Killy Lords, one of which is the an excellence one. So I went. I wanted to go for the Paladin, Great Weapon, Excellence, Cleansing Fire combo.
Yeah.
So you could get AP5, Flaming, and Divine attacks for challenges that can't be ignored, which is insane. But I went
really
I went for Blessed Inscriptions and Great Weapon purely because you just can't. The character section gets filled up so quickly. You need. I felt like I needed this guy to be a general or a BSB.
Yeah.
But yes, still should be incredibly solid in challenges, and potential to give a flaming banner to a unit so that he can do this anyway.
Yeah, I mean he's got 5 strength, 6 attacks, and he's rerolling to wound.
Yeah.
With AP3 and Divine, so.
AP5 in Divine, but AP.
Oh yes, yeah, AP5.
Yeah, it's mad how good he would be at killing a lot of characters, and I think regen is a little less popular than it used to be in terms of character builds. So, probably something that comes up less often these days. The other guy I went for was a Justicar. BSB with paired weapons. So not paired weapons. I didn't go for the paired weapons because I needed the Panoply, the +2 armor save item elsewhere.
Yeah.
So this guy's got 5 strength, 5 AP3 because he's taken Hero's Heart. He's got Justicar, so he will get +3 up to +3 attacks depending on what knight unit he's in. If the enemy kills any of his units. And he is, so potentially just putting out a decent amount of quality attacks, up to 8 in a phase. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
No, especially when that's all the time.
And potential to combo that with +1 to hit from the Horizon tokens just becomes very solid with a high offense skill as well.
Yeah, and he's your BSB as well.
He's my BSB, yeah. And then for the rest of it, I really like the freedom that you get now from not necessarily having to take a Druidism Master. So I embraced that fully by squeezing in Triple Adept into the list. So 2 Damsels, which I think are really solid with the Horizon, and 1 on Div, 1 on Shamanism. And I gave them both Unicorns because I think for 25 points they give such an upgrade to a lance that they go into with the MR and the Forest Strider. I think just why would you take the Steed if they're going into a lance? And then the last one being a Troubadour. Not Troubadour. A Quinn Ordo. A Quinn Folk Hero. Adept Witchcraft. Love the idea of getting the Adept Witchcraft in there for Raven's Wing, Twisted Effigy, Deceptive Glamour. Great spells for the KOE list to have. And you've got 6 spells there, so you can easily drop 1 for the Hereditary, depending on who you're playing. I think it would be a very flexible Magic phase.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of different ways to play that as well. You can go out anti-shooting very easily. You can go heavily for shooting damage. And of course, the folk hero has a 2-up save while he's sitting on a warhorse with
he's cheaper. He's 25 points cheaper than the Damsels, and he has a 2-up armor save.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. And I don't think we mentioned, but the Excellence General has Sainted as well, so he's got extra attacks. He causes fear.
Yes, and always has +1 to hit. Yeah, so even killier in those duels. Yeah, 5 attacks at strength 6, AP 5, divine, rerolls to wound that can't be refused.
Horrible.
It's horrible.
Really grim. Awesome. Right, so we'll be going through the rest of that list throughout the rest of the week, so stay tuned. And then my list. So for first of all, I've got a Equitaine Lord who's Sainted. He's my general. He's holding a halberd with mortal reminder, so he causes fear. He's got strength 6, AP 3, striking at agility with 5 attacks, and he causes terror because the weapon causes fear, and he's a saint. Valor, which doubles his wounds against things that cause fear, and he's fearless, which is just a nice bonus for anything that I'm fighting that causes fear. Resplendent Panoply, which gives him a 2/4 1-up save, I think. And then I went for a Talisman of Shielding because that gives him a 5+ Aegis, and then the Sainted gives him +1, so he's pushed to a 1-up armor and a 4-up Aegis. And then he's sitting on a revered, yeah, all the time. So no caveats to that. And then he's on a revered unicorn, so he's MR2, he's Strider Forest, and he's move 9, March 18, which is very nice, very cool, and a couple of strength 4 hits attacks from the mount as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's I mean, in the Equitaine Lord section, it's even
cheaper, isn't it?
It's even cheaper than upgrade than the Damsel. 5 point extra. It's mad.
Yeah. So no point going for the other one, really.
Yeah. Why would you ever? The mount price needs to be looked into.
Yeah. Next, I've got a Damsel who's a Wizard Master of Shamanism. I've also taken advantage of the fact that Druidism isn't necessarily the way to go anymore. Talisman of the Void and a Revered Unicorn. So she's MR2. She's got an Orison token. Oh, we didn't count your Orison tokens. So you've got 2 from your Damsels, 1 from your Sainted, to give you 3.
Yeah, 3 from characters. Yeah. Very
nice. Then my BSB, he's on foot actually. So he's got he's an Equitaine Lord BSB with an Aether icon. He's got Faith for the free use of Orison tokens in combat. Shield, heavy armor, Ghostly Guard. So he's got a 2-up save on foot, and he's got a hand weapon enchanted with Tristram's Resolve. So if I hit your magic weapon, I break your magic weapon, and then I get my full armor save.
That's a nice combo.
Yeah, it's a nice thing. It's difficult to get to a 2-up save or higher on foot, and keep your parry, because you can go very easily with Willow's Ward, but then you have to rely on your defensive skill, which isn't quite so good. I wanted this guy to be able to stay alive. And then next up, like I said, I really like the clerics, so I've gone for 2 folk heroes with cleric, destriers, heavy armor, shield, and light lances. So they've got a 2-up, and they can march around, join units, heal wounds, and then march off again. Or I can just keep them with my Damsel and my general, keep them healed up all the time without having to use any magic. And that gives me 2 Orisons from the clerics, 1 from my Damsel, and 1 from my Saint. So I've got 4 Orison tokens starting off with to start with.
Clearly your list wins.
Yeah, I've got just trying to get as many of that out as possible, and I've got a Faith character as well, so I can have a 3rd Orison Ordo Minister, and I get to freely use Orisons in combat, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, very nice.
Cool. So, excellent. That's everything for today. I think we've pushed up to an hour almost.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully the other sections will be slightly faster, because we don't have a load of magic items to look through.
Thanks for anyone who stayed with us.
Yes, if you're still watching, thank you very much. We will catch you tomorrow.